We will now consider log number 5579R1 by Mr. Scott. For what purposes, gentlemen from Georgia, seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Will the clerk please distribute the amendment? Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia for the purpose of explaining his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is, in effect, the text of the Bipartisan Salute Act introduced by Representative Brian Jack and Shamari Figures. It has 25 additional bipartisan co-sponsors, including several on this committee. It would establish a pilot program to provide military families the option to purchase a low-cost, department-approved cancer supplemental plan to help pay out-of-pocket expenses in the event of a cancer diagnosis. The department has acknowledged in writing, and we all know, that service members must sometimes pay out-of-pocket for health care expenses, as we all do. This would be supplemental coverage to TRICARE. At the end of the pilot program, the department would report back with data on the program. If successful, it could be continued. If not, the program would sunset. I would ask your favorable consideration of it. And again, the department would be authorized to competitively bid 2 contracts to vendors to provide low-cost policies, just like TRICARE's setup is. Military families could choose to enroll through the department's normal online benefits portal. Terms, benefits, and conditions would be spelled out by the department in a simple, objective manner. If covered a family member diagnosed with cancer, a direct benefit would be provided to immediately help cover out-of-pocket expenses as they are incurred. And with that, Mr. Chairman, it is pretty simple. It's a product that's offered probably in the vast majority of medium and large private sector employers, and this would simply start a pilot program to offer it to our military families. With that, I yield.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have concerns with this amendment. Basically, it provides gap insurance. And as I understand it, several insurance companies want to offer a specific gap insurance program to military service members and their families. What I've heard from the department, there's considerable dispute about how much this gap insurance would cover that's not already covered. And the other aspect of this that is in this is not just to offer it, but in the, and forgive me, I did not serve, so I haven't filled out all of the forms, but when you go through the normal form process, this amendment would require there to be a box where each member would have to affirmatively, service member would look at it and decide whether or not they wanted this insurance, which is kind of like pushing the insurance on the member, putting it on the service member, putting it in front of them. So, really want to make sure we're not encouraging members to buy insurance that they don't need. Now, if they want to offer this plan, that's fine. I don't see why the military has to basically offer it for them. As I understand it, I don't think we do this with other insurance. So I think the net result of this was you will be forcing members to, they will have to make a decision on this as they sign up. And if it's on the form, it kind of implies that the military thinks it's something that you ought to consider. So I am concerned about this resulting in basically service members paying for something they don't need. So I am opposed to the amendment. I understand it is in all likelihood going to pass, and we can talk about how to work on this going forward. But I don't want to benefit insurance companies at the expense of service members and their families. Like I said, there's nothing to stop a service member right now from buying gap insurance. If they want to buy gap insurance, there's nothing to stop the insurance companies from offering a plan specifically to service members. This is us kind of giving our statutory stamp of approval to it, and having the Department of Defense also give its stamp of approval to it by putting the option in front of members to purchase it. And that I don't support. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member wish to speak on the amendment? Gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to support this legislation. It doesn't cost the taxpayer a dime. And I've met people who have needed this coverage. They've had to travel and pay out of pocket to go to a different hospital to get cancer treatment. And I think we could be very clear to address the ranking member's concerns that say the military is not pushing this. It's just an option for people to consider. But I have known folks who had cancer, they have to pay out of pocket to travel and do other expenses, not necessarily that the cancer care may be provided, but there's all these additional expenses. And that's what we're trying to do here. I yield.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized, Mr. Garamendi.
After 8 years as insurance commissioner, I usually wake up in the morning and swear never to engage in that conversation again. However, Mr. Scott, you have tickled my memory here. And I think the issue that the ranking member raised is that these policies can and should be available to members. I do notice that you have in your amendment requirements that the insurance that is being sold is available in every state and therefore arguably regulated by that state. Insurance being regulated state by state. That's a difficult thing to achieve, but it's extremely important in this case because these people are moving around. I think that you may have gone a step too far by bringing the military into making the decision of which insurance companies will be able to sell their policies to the civilian and military members. That is a very heavy obligation of the military to basically regulate the insurance companies. I think that Mr. Bacon was onto something, as was Mr. Smith, that these gap policies are probably useful in many of these families and individuals for reasons that have already been articulated. But I think that what we may want to do here is to open the door to companies to sell these policies on the base and let the regulatory regimes of that particular state cover that sales program. I will tell you from my experience, regulating the insurance company is a huge task, and choosing an insurance company that is sound, does good payment of claims, quick and full, it is a very difficult task, and one that I don't know that the military should be doing, but rather making these policies available would be a good idea. So let's work on this. I know what you're trying to do, but I think you may be doing it in a way that is going to create a whole hassle. So with that, I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields. Does anybody else wish to speak on this? Mr. Davis, North Carolina.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chair, and to the ranking member. I want to start by saying that I truly hear loud and clear the concerns raised by the ranking member. And I also want to acknowledge that there have been several of those, including myself, that's been part of this, the SLUD Act. And at the end of the day, we want to do anything possible to help, especially those who may be dealing with cancer diagnosis. So what I would simply say, just listening to the tone, and that is, as we can continue to explore this, as supplemental options are made available, and this, again, looking at it from a pilot perspective, can continue to be a valuable option. I think it's definitely worth seeing if we can work out and figure it out moving forward. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you. And yes, some of us have been working on this, trying to figure it out. So thank you, Mr. Scott.
I thank the gentleman. He yields back. Chair, and I recognize Mr. Whitman of Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield my time to the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. And so prior to being a member of Congress, I was actually an insurance broker for about 2 decades and licensed in multiple states, including the state of California. And the reason you don't want it to be an individual contract, the reason you want it to be a group contract instead of an individual contract is because the consumer gets significantly more for the same number of dollars. So if you open the gates and you let agents go in and sell individual contracts to the different members, a couple of things happen there. One is some agents aren't necessarily good. Most of them are, but some would sell people more than they could afford. I don't want that to happen here. But 2 is, if you're doing this with this volume that this would allow for, you're going to get a significantly better price than you would if you were selling the individual contracts like you would sell at a 4-person or a 5-person or maybe even a 10-person business. So it's an opportunity. If it doesn't work, it can be stopped. I do think we can make it work. And I do want to explain that one of the key differences in these contracts, and what you get with TRICARE pays the healthcare provider. But there's a tremendous number of expenses, sometimes hotel bills, gas, fuel, travel bills, babysitters, all of the other expenses that come when someone is sick that your major medical and your TRICARE is not going to cover. And this is simply an option to help people cover some of those expenses with what I think will be an exceptionally cost-effective product if it's offered to this volume of people instead of individual contracts. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and I would like to emphasize what Mr. Davis was saying, and that is, this is a pilot program. This is how you work the bugs out, by having a pilot program. So I just don't really see the reason to oppose this. Anybody else wish to speak? If there's no further debate, the question occurs on the amendment offered by Mr. Scott. So many as are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Okay.